think our mission right now is to bridge between traditional art and digital art. And what we can do with technology today, what we can do with hardware today, is the obvious journey for showcasing art on screens.
Well, here we are again, D, the Great Wave Podcast, where we are surfing everything Web3. I'm Dave.
I'm D.
And we've got another interesting episode for you today. We've got Emil Dogan, who's going to be joining us all the way from Copenhagen. And Emil is with Tech Contemporary and CEO of Space7 there in Copenhagen. So he'll be telling us all about those businesses and the exciting things that they're doing. And one thing just before we kick off here, D, I think we have to just share that we may or may not have a financial interest in some of the projects or companies, tokens, products, or services which we are discussing in these episodes. None of what we say should be considered financial advice because at the end of the day, what do we know?
Yeah, what do we know? What do we know?
Right. Not much. So as always, do your own research, friends. Do it. So D,
do it, man.
For the call here, we've got Tech Contemporary and Space7. How should we set this up? Do you want to give us a bit of an overview of those businesses?
Yeah, Space7 is a Swiss company. We know what they're good at, dark chocolate and all, and I guess white snow and skiing resorts. What else were you going to say?
Watches, cheese,
all of the decadent things in life. But
the wonderful things that are important.
Yeah, exactly. Space7 has extensive knowledge in building NFT marketplace solutions, and I believe it's like a white label solution that Space7 is offering to other Web3 companies, and they've got offices in Denmark and Spain and the Ukraine as well. And they've got some partner communities as well, one of them being Tech Contemporary.
I think that image there was from Enter Art Fair last year, where I actually met Emil for the first time. So,
excellent. Yeah, it's quite a striking image, isn't it? Yeah, this is Tech Contemporary. They're the digital gallery that's located in Copenhagen. And as you were saying, Dave, you guys were exhibiting there for the first time last year with Curate and Anywall. I'm sure that we're going to be talking a little bit about that in just a short while. But these guys are actually helping to sort of catalyze the digital movement of digital art, moving away from the traditional sense of how we view and enjoy and display art. So it's going to be really interesting to learn more about all of that stuff. And you can see that they've got a couple of events here that are coming up. In fact, they're going to be doing their grand opening in a few weeks, and they're also going to be participating at the Enter Art Fair a little bit later this year in August. And they've also got their own marketplace. That's going to be interesting to chat a little bit to Emil about. And then some of their partner communities. I did mention Curate and Anywall. They also have a very interesting artist, DVK, the artist, that I'm hoping we can learn a little bit more about. And I think that's a quick, nice and easy little overview of who we're going to be talking today. Exciting stuff. I love all of the digital art display stuff, and really looking forward to chatting to Emil.
Yeah, DVK, the image at the top there, and those images that you can see, that bearded guy and that lady's face there. Those are all DVK's pieces, and I saw those in Copenhagen. I met DVK, and we should get him on the podcast because some of the stuff he's doing is really incredible. The pieces that he's making are really super detailed, really, really beautiful stuff. So, all right, great. Well, look, we've got Emil waiting in the wings, so I am going to just get him to join us here. Emil,
hi.
Thanks for joining us. How are things in Copenhagen? You're staying warm?
Thank you for having me. Well, it's not warm for sure. It's rainy and windy, but That's Denmark. It's the Nordics, but it's lovely in the summertime. So please don't come here now. Come in the summer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a lovely city. I love Copenhagen. So look, we just had a look at the businesses that you're involved in with Space7 and Tech Contemporary. We had a look at those on Splash. We had a look a little bit at some of the partner communities, Anywall, Curate, DVK, The Artist. And really what I'd like to do here first is give the listener a little bit of a background to who you are, to where you've come from in your journey. Now, we met for the first time at Enter Art Fair in August last year, right? The 2023 Enter Art Fair. And if I recall, at that time, you were still relatively new to the whole Web3 space.
Absolutely true.
Yeah. So where'd you come from? What were you doing before? And then how did you fall into Web3 and blockchain and Space7?
Yeah. So very interesting way of coming to the space. I'm actually born and raised in Copenhagen, have a master's degree in Copenhagen from Copenhagen University. I have a law degree, so like a master's degree from Copenhagen University, and never really used those tools to be a lawyer or anything. But it was a great tool set to continue my entrepreneurship. Doing 10 startups, was CEO for a large hospitality group within the experience economy, and my main focus was concept development, business development.
So your F&B business, was that restaurants, cafes, nightclubs? What sort of F&B venues were you in?
So when I went to law school, I actually started as a cocktail bartender. So instead of spending money in the weekends, right, why not earning money in the weekends? Right. And then if you have the right work ethic and and you want to be the best in what you do, very fast I became very connected and committed to the nightlife scene, and then from there I became the manager. From manager I went an owner. So 17 years later I opened like 6 nightclubs in Copenhagen, a bunch of restaurants. What I loved about the hospitality business is the interaction with people, meeting people on different layers in society, what the experience was doing. It was like the Disneyland of grown-ups, because that was kind of the free in the weekends. And
I don't know if you knew this, but I was a bartender for years.
Oh, really?
That's how I paid for high school and university. Yeah, in Canada. So in and around Toronto, and what a great lifestyle. But as I got older and started to have a family, it's tough to live that lifestyle the way you used to. And you have to move on.
When you committed and you kind of get your identity in that community and that space, it's tough to leave again. So I was really keen on developing the nightclub scene in Copenhagen. We were really good in restaurants and hotels. The hospitality was great, but the nightlife scene, like after midnight, was a little bit still not developed as we wanted to. We wanted to push that boundaries. Stockholm was much further than us 20 years ago. So we were focusing on becoming world's finest clubs, and we achieved that award. It's like the Michelin's of the restaurants star. So we became world's finest clubs for like 10 years in a row, and it was really. But what I really loved about it was actually you can go to school, you can educate yourself, you can read books, but there's nothing like life experience, and there's nothing like the network you build within nightlife, and just meeting people in different stages. We not, because people have this perception of nightlife is very limited, but we actually did events in Stadtpalast in Switzerland where we opened ski resorts. We flew private jets, like 100 guests, to other countries. We were hosting award shows. We were on Cannes Film Festival. We were doing a lot of these events. So in the end, everything is about hospitality and professionalizing. And coming from a Turkish background, hospitality comes with the culture. So it was really easy for me to adapt to the role. So
is that how you met? Is that how you met Lars Seier through that? And I'm sort of front running the conversation a little bit here, but is it from that hospitality background? Because I know Lars is passionate about restaurants and hotels as well.
I know his daughters. I know his family. Lars, of course, knew. He's a really interesting profile in Denmark, and very respected person. And what he's been doing with Restaurant Alchemist and Geranium is just amazing. So what happened is that I actually sold my businesses just before COVID hit us. It was pure luck. Like 1st of January 2020, I did an exit with our restaurants and nightclubs. And I needed to change lifestyle. Like you said, I had two children. I had one child at that point, wanted to have one more child. So like being a family father, working 7 days, 24 hours, weekends, now I understand the concept of weekends. That's actually where you rest, right? I didn't understand that while I was doing it. So, and in that period, I actually started a new startup where I was, looking into recruiting, like talent acquisition, where we want to do it based on data. So it was kind of moving slowly towards tech. And in that journey, I met Lasaya Christensen, and he was looking for a CEO for Space7. And they were highly invested in the technology of blockchain and the NFT marketplace, and in general with the Concordium blockchain as an ecosystem. So they were looking for a person who could bring a personal profile that could bring a little bit business development and more commercial focus. And coming where I'm coming from, we saw it as a good match, and I started March 2023.
Yeah,
not the best timing for NFTs, to be honest. So being student of the space, I went to Paris Blockchain Week in March. It was really educational. Came back, and I was like, guys, this flipping monkeys on the Web3 and the speculative NFT projects, this is dying. This concept is not sustainable. We need to figure this out. We need to find a more sustainable path. We need to we need to figure out how we can do this. Because the technology behind the NFTs is amazing, revolutionary. But the problem is the word got devaluated. People are talking more and more like tech language, more tech communicative. So we lose the mainstream audience, and we lose kind of the focus. So very shortly, I came back with like kind of suggestions of how we can pivot the company and looking at our value chain. And I always work with the 5 C's as a leader in a company. I have these like 5 words I'm really focusing on, and one of them is competence and where I saw our company was and what we can do and what we needed to do as continuity, like another C we were looking into. It was like, okay, art is very, very tangible. Lars was really he's a very art collector. He loves art. When I was talking to him, I was talking to our community. I was talking to, the value chain we could bring to the table. It was really obvious that we should move that direction. And very shortly after, we joined forces with Hans Elf, which is a gallery in Copenhagen. He's a well-respected gallerist and curator for 20 years in Denmark from the traditional art world. So we created this bridge between traditional art and digital art and opened a gallery called Tech Contemporary, which is a digital gallery in Copenhagen. Then we started to, build the value chain. Then Anywall came with the hardware, and then we talked to Curate, Splash, with you guys. Suddenly, I was at the Inter Art Fair, acting like I knew anything about digital art. It was like it was like I said, it was back to being nightlife. The perception of the illusion of being in the distant land. Like there's a lot of I think there's a lot of the perception with digital art is what we are fighting against a little bit about, is computer animated. Things are not done by human beings. There's no handcraft behind it. So that's kind of the perception I wanted to push and to communicate. I'm not talking about NFT art. I'm talking about digital art.
Yeah, it's interesting, the perceptions, right? And sort of how do you address those perceptions? And like you were saying earlier, the word NFT and all of the jargon around it has become so it's just been devalued, right? And when you come and work with artists, for example, like DVK, and we can certainly talk about his work in the upcoming show, the stuff he's doing is really, really incredible. And it's beautiful, just visually stunning. When we were at the Inter Art Fair and people would see these pieces, they reacted emotionally to them. But it's also really incredible technically from his production process. And then, of course, it is NFT, and it's got all of the benefits of immutability and all the things that we know that NFTs bring to it. So maybe just to give us a bit more clarity on the different businesses that you're involved in there. So you're involved with Space7. That's a CEO role with Space7 or a general manager with Space7, and then you've got a relationship with Tech Contemporary. Could you just help parse that for us? what's the responsibilities on both of those?
Absolutely. So I started as CEO at Space7 and focusing on the commercial aspect and the business development aspect. I quickly realized, like I said, within our network, we had a possibility to dive into the digital art. So I met Hans Elf, and who was a traditional art gallerist. And they wanted to open a digital art gallery because they were seeing the movement in the space, and so I was hired to help them building the white label solution for Tech Contemporary with Space7.
Right.
And in that connection, we started to talk, and the chemistry was great. And they asked me to be art director of the gallery. So I'm in charge of the gallery, a CEO of Space7. But there's very strong synergies because in the end, Tech Contemporary is a white label partner to Space7. And what we're doing right now and this is what I love about our space. Everything is so including. Everybody wants to help each other. The competition is healthy. Everybody wants to, your success is my success. If your project is going to be, sold out, it looks good for everyone, right? So this is a very positive period to be in. So, and I know, coming with a Web3 project like Space7, I needed to align myself with respected people like Lasse Christensen, like Hans Elf, and I needed the hardware to showcase the art, so it was more tangible experience. And we needed a physical venue at Tech Contemporary to do the events, do the educational happenings, which I think is very important because we as communicators has a big role in this. Like we are of course very invested in talking tech, but we need to understand that before people can accept our space, they need to understand our space. And this is the journey we want to do with Contemporary.
Yeah. So Space7 is, you say white label. So there's a service or a software service that you're providing for Tech Contemporary, which is that white label service that you're providing?
We the NFT marketplace behind Tech Contemporary. But one of the first things I did with Tech Contemporary was you can purchase art with fiat. You can credit cards, because we need to do this user experience as easy and to onboard as possible. Understanding, because I was new in this space 9 months ago. I of course I knew about crypto. I heard about NFTs. I went on this fear of missing out like everybody else. You lost a lot of money or whatever. It was not money for me. I see it as a small Howard education because I ended up here, right? So for me, it was a great educational experience to invest and look and learn from it and understand what the tools were. So the user experience is very, very important, and this is why we are not Web 2.0, we are not Web 3.0, we are like 2.5, like we're in the betweens, and we are moving towards Web 3. And this is why Tech Contemporary is a white label solution on top of Space7, but it's not only an NFT marketplace because we can also sell digital art that's not minted on a blockchain, which is of obvious reasons we will recommend it, but for the mass adoption and so mainstream audience to understand it, we're not this fanatic about it, but we understand, the importance about it.
Yeah, that's superb to hear, Emil. I guess part of sort of educating the mass market, you obviously said you've sort of gone through your own learnings over the past 9 months, being thrown into this weird and wonderful world of Web3. A big part of that education is hosting events. And obviously, if you have a physical space where you can start to educate the public on what you guys are doing, it's very tangible. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the upcoming events that Tech Contemporary is looking to hold at your premises there?
So the 23rd of February, we have a grand opening. We are very excited to follow the development of the hardware with the inner wall and everything we're doing. So we wanted to time things correctly. And now we're ready to launch the gallery, and we're going to activate, of course, our network and we're going to have a solo exhibition with the Danish artist called DVK, the artist. We really, he's been there from day one with me, and I'm been following him since and really inspired by him. He's coming from a traditional art family. And the way of his focus and his energy he puts in this space, like we were in the art fair, the gentleman was there 12 hours a day talking about art and how committed and how passionate.
He was a machine.
He was a machine, dude. And that inspired me. That's why we choose him as our first solo exhibition artist, the 23rd of February. So we're gonna launch that together, of course, with Lasse Christensen and Hans Elf's network, and and we're gonna mint these art pieces on the Concordium blockchain, and we're gonna activate, of course, that network and community, and so this is kind of a big ecosystem, but there's more to come. I want to use this space as an event space, educational space. Like I said, we are talking together with Soho House with the concept worldwide. The Soho House concept, which is really great. They're like walking distance from our gallery, so we want to do events with them. I'm also talking to other NFT marketplaces because, like I said, we are very including, not excluding. We are talking to Object One right now to do like a monthly exhibition with there, so as a physical gallery, to co-host some. Nice. And because before Christmas we did an exhibition together with Object One actually, and then that's a Tesla's marketplace, and simultaneously, same time as we were doing our exhibition in Copenhagen, there was an Art Basel in Miami. And we were like a meme on the internet that we actually pulled it off in Copenhagen. I did a great job with the screens and the showcasing the exhibition, and everything went wrong in Miami. So we become like an internet meme, but it's funny how things move so fast in our space, right? So, so like I said, and this is just building, this is just building network and community, and we're getting to a point where I really understand the space. And for me, to be honest, in the beginning, just the terminology and just the way we talked and the words like DEX and DAOs and layer ones and whatever, everything was new to me. So it was now I'm getting to the point where I actually feel comfortable about moving these next steps, and it's incredible because this was actually what I wanted. I wanted to stimulate myself as a person, removing myself from like a business I was in for 20 years. So going to tech is very inspiring, very inspirational, and I love it, and is learning every day, which is that's key for me.
Yeah. Hey, Emil, let me ask you about what you've experienced when you're having conversations with folks in the traditional art world, right? And it seems to me from what I've seen, the vast majority are very skeptical of digital art. And although there are some leaders, I would say, who are really looking at it as a new art form, not just as a fad, right? And again, artists like DVK, like Irina Sofia, like some of these other artists that we've seen and worked with in Copenhagen are really pushing the story very well, that no, this is a new medium. It's really can be very inspiring and compelling. But what sort of reactions are you getting from traditional art lovers or traditional gallerists, even Hans Elf himself, maybe, when you think about digital art as an asset, but when you also think about the way that you can show these things is very different, right? It doesn't take you 2 weeks to set up an exhibition. You could actually have these things on a rotation, or you can show multiple pieces on a similar frame. And so tell me about some of that tension that you've experienced, or some of the opportunities that you're seeing from the differences between this and traditional art.
I think it's a very good question, because I think I'm a perfect candidate to be head of digital art, because I'm very new. So I'm open-minded with everything. I have no luck.
You don't have the baggage.
Right? I don't have this, old traditional art world. I'm just open-minded and positive and optimistic, like I'm as a person. So for last 9 months, I've been at Inter Art Fair. That was a really, really interesting space to see how the traditional artwork was receiving it. I went to a FinTech week where I presented the screens, and that was kind of more like the finance world meeting the tech world. Very interesting space to be in. And then, of course, I went to the blockchain week in Copenhagen, which is like obviously very, open arms, and then understood the game. So the first thing I experienced is like the wow effect when they see the screens, because we are really, I think our mission right now is to bridge between traditional art and digital art, and give people the understanding that this is not gonna take over. This is just gonna be an add-on, and what we can do with technology today, what we can do with hardware today, is the obvious journey for showcasing art on screens. And this is what's really, really important for me, because when we're talking about digital art and we're talking about NFT art, people like, what I'm going to use for it? It's going to be in my wallet. It's going to be on my computer. It's going to be on some electrical device. There's no use for it. So, and the perception is usually you want to hold the art piece, you want to smell it, you want to touch it. What can I do with digital art? And that was why experience economy that we are trying to show here is very important. That's why the physical venue is very important. I see people with tears in their eyes, literally, because now they can showcase their art. It's coming from the tradition. That's coming from the artist, right? But the collector perspective, now they can see that the flexibility about taking your art worldwide. Maybe you have a guys' night and you're going to watch soccer or football or rugby or whatever. You change your environment in your room because you want different art. Maybe it's summer, so you go with the flow. You change your art pieces on the screens so it creates so many opportunities, and that's what we want to showcase here. There's also another aspect we are still we didn't address yet. There's also digitalizing physical art. We also have a lot of collectors that want to bring their art pieces to this house in France, or they want to they want to bring it to worldwide because they really enjoy their art, and now we have the opportunity to do so. Imagine the commercial aspects we're looking into. Imagine hotels, what they can do for guest relations. Imagine what we can do, customized experiences. When you can, when you come as an Australian guest to Denmark and in your hotel room, there's Australian art in your room. And instead of having these ugly, to be fair, no disrespect, ugly posters that you can buy in IKEA, whatever all the hotel rooms are doing. So imagine what you can do with a few resources. To answer your question, really, this is difficult to answer really short. The excitement is there. And what we can do with the screens and what we can show with the screens was a helpful tool. And this is what is very important to say. Suddenly we can show something tangible. And another thing is people start to understand what digital art can do. And also, there's some trust here because you can actually purchase your art and have it on your wall the next day. And that's a commitment that's really important for for the mass adoption. Of course, there are still questions about, well, is it the real art? Is there 100 other editions of this? And this is why, one of our our ambitions in the beginning is only doing one-to-one art at the gallery because we want to be exclusive. We want to showcase. I want to be as close to a natural gallery as possible. Like a traditional gallery and tech contemporary should be as close to each other as experienced as possible. So that's why I serve the same champagne. I give them same speeches. I don't talk about the technology. I talk about the artwork. I'm trying to implement everything from the traditional world to the digital world, and that gives kind of a confidence, and it also gives kind of a trust in the process. And this is why it's very important to have a person like me with no baggage, like you say, coming on board. And I think that's why Lars and Hans chose me, because if I was coming from a traditional art school, studied art history, whatever, I think I would have some, a different angle to this. So I hope that kind of
some biases or some preconceived ideas.
But
look, you touched on something. You touched on something I thought was really interesting, and this is something that we've been thinking a lot about when we're talking to the guys at within Curate or in Anywall. This idea that one of the concerns that people have about these digital art pieces that they can just be replicated ad infinitum, right? You can make 100 of them, you can make 1,000 of them. So what's the value of having one? But of course, we know that the underlying technology of blockchain allows you to actually have just one of that piece. And if it's authenticated by the artist, right, then you've got that confidence that this is actually the real deal. This is the authentic piece created by, signed by that artist. It's in the metadata, all of that kind of stuff. There's another element to that I think is interesting, and this is where blockchain and AI sort of meet. One of the areas they meet to make sort of Web3 is that with the right AI algorithms, we can actually create image recognition whereby I can see if that piece is the actual original piece. And there's things that we can do to embed digital signatures and these kinds of things into a piece of art. And thereby I can prove that that is actually the original by virtue of the fact that I've got an AI tool that's actually read it and verified that it is the original from the blockchain. So there's some really interesting things that are developing, but the technology isn't rolled out, right? It's not ubiquitous. And so we've got a ways to go before really widespread adoption. But we're starting to see in pockets, MoMA in New York just bought another Rafik Anadol piece or was gifted a Rafik Anadol piece. We're starting to get, some high, Christie's obviously has done some auctions, the Beeple a few years ago. And after that real peak of excitement, bit of a trough of disillusionment, of course, but it's starting to come back that we can see, right? People are starting to say, okay, NFTs, all of that bullshit is kind of silly, right? And what does this really mean for art and for high-minded art and really aspirational art?
I think this bear market came as a perfect thing for our space, because what was happening, a lot of technologies come from speculations, right? Just look at the gold rush in US. Look what they created of technologies, industries, jobs, opportunities, societies. Yeah. So of course it started maybe as a speculative aspect about, making a lot of money on buying some monkeys, and all due respect, I think those projects did amazing, and they were like front runners what we are here today. But we needed this bear run, we needed that, because now we can look inside and say, okay, we have the technology, we know what we can do. We know what is, what the use cases can be. Yeah. Let's focus on this. Let's develop. Let's build the trust. Let's build some tangible projects that people actually respect. And one of the first things I did when I came into this space, and that's kind of follow up on your lead here, is I went through a talk. It was like a Copenhagen business school. There was a professor. She was talking about how you value art. Like how do you price an art piece? And she came with like 12 steps of doing so. Right. Like it could be emotional feelings about being in some period of your life where this art has a special place in your heart. It could be the history of the artist. It could be the branding, whatever. But one of the things she said was really interesting. Actually, is like the history for the art piece. So you can have simultaneously, you can have two artworks, like traditional art pieces, done by the same artist, same time frame, some canvas and everything, like the materials. But the history of one piece, like if we went to a museum, we went to, a private collector, and it went to like exhibition that was really interesting, that piece increases in value compared to the other piece if it just went in your basement for 10, 15 years. Yeah. Even though it was the same artist creating it. So the logbook, the history behind the art is very important. Yeah. Exactly. That's why the NFT technology, again, contributes with something positive, because now we can create this logbook history, and we can actually do it with transparency. We can do it with, provenance. And let's, we can even dive into NFT tech. So you can do with digitals, like you can actually sell a physical art piece, and you can have a digital certificate. So the ownership, and the proof of ownership, and the history behind the piece. There's so many things we're diving into. Yeah. And when I talk to traditional galleries about this, they understand it. And some are very afraid to be the first to move on, but they are curious. They're just waiting for the timing. And in 10 years, we're going to see, I think all of these assets is going to be tipped with an NFT, because that's what the digital certificate.
I think it's coming. I think it's coming faster than that. I think. But like to your point, if there's a house on a street, and that Robert Redford used to own that house, right? The value bumps by whatever percentage, right? Similarly with a work of art, if it's got a history to it, if there's a story, at the end of the day, people love to tell stories, right? And the art collectors want to tell the story about that piece. They want to tell the story of who the artist was. They want to tell the story of why the piece was made or what it's about. And they want to tell the story of, who I bought this from? That person, or this was in this show, or everybody wants to share a story. Cool. Look, Emil, we've got so many other things we can talk about. Tell us a bit about what the, what the big vision is for Tech Contemporary and for Space7, for those businesses. Like where do you see those businesses going? Maybe start with Space7 and what's on the horizon there in the next 12, 36 months.
Absolutely. So when I started in the space, like I said, one of the things I did, I analyzed the market. So what's going on? What is an NFT marketplace, first of all? What is Space7? And now where can we differentiate ourselves? Like, because there's all these big companies like OpenSea, and then Blur came out of nowhere and suddenly took over and took a big market share. And I was kind of analyzing what's going on, what's the trend, why is this happening? But what I found out that it was very, very much, again, it was very user fragile. It was very, communities. And I was like, I'm not going to go that direction, because in bear market, I need to go more B2B. I want to go more to partnerships. This is the time where I should build relationships, because, we cannot be dependent on bear market. And what I hear constantly in this market is that we're going to wait to the Bitcoin halving, or we're going to wait for bull market and everything's going to explode. So all their funding, all their investments and KPIs are kind of, connected to that. And that's not the way I wanted to run Space7. So we went in a different direction, and we want to be kind of a B2B product. So what we did is we're going to be the Shopify of NFT marketplaces, because we invested many millions of dollars in this project. So, but what we see the trend is right now, what we see within the NFT space is that big companies like Nike, all the luxury brands, and even I see galleries and I see artists as entities as well. These group of people, they want to have customized NFT marketplace. They don't want to be an OpenSea. So what we're providing at Space7 right now, and what the vision is for Space7, is being kind of the Shopify for NFT marketplaces. So with a very short, time frame, we can develop an NFT marketplace for you, customize it. We can even front design it with UX designers, and all depends on the requirements. But very easily, you can onboard our platform, and you can create your own NFT marketplace. Right. And you can be up and running in a couple of
a private label market.
So this is what we see the trend is going. You want to be more customized. You want to be more personal. You want to more design in a way where you're connecting to your community in a more personal way. So that's what I see Space7. So we're going to be white label providers, and basically we are tech providers in this. But what we do is we consultancy with NFTs, because we explain what we can do with the tools, because I see NFTs as an amazing tool to interact with your communities and your fans and your customers and your consumers and your users. And that's is an ongoing process.
So there's an advisory opportunity there. There's an advisory opportunity there that you can, interesting. Are you blockchain agnostic, or who are you? Which currencies are you allowing folks to sell their products on, to mint on?
So right now we are on Concordium blockchain and on Ethereum. The name is Space7. Is actually come from, we wanted to be on 7 chains, so we want to go multi-chain at one point. And right now we are analyzing what's the chains out there we want to work together with, because the pivot we're going towards digital art is very, very, of course, a strong commitment. But we're also having a lot of projects with digital certificates. We see recycling projects in Dubai. We do, agriculture in Denmark. They want to do NFTs as rewards. We see NGO projects. They want to do digital certificates. I see luxury brands like watches and all these amazing, innovative brands. They want to go into the digital certificate programs. That's where we can do some loyalty programs with NFTs. So that's going to be something we focus on with Space7 also. So which chain should we choose for that? With art, it's very interesting spaces like Tesos we're looking into. We want to go Solana, maybe together, with Splash, we're considering if we should move towards Cardano. So we are having the pipeline for 2024 is to at least integrate 2 chains more. But we need to do it with due diligence and do it in the right order. So so we collect CCDs, which is Concordium coin, and we got Ethereum, of course. But one of the first things I also did is you can purchase your NFTs with fiat money. So we integrated a software called Vert, where you can, with credit card payments, very shortly, purchase your NFTs. And again, additional to this, I'm working to integrate a new feature that's called Token Storm, which is with a credit card payment and an email. You get your NFTs sent to an email inbox, and then you can go home and do your KYC procedures, and you can download the wallet and everything else afterwards. So you don't lose that trade. And that's what I see at the art fairs. And what I see at the galleries, because there's a lot of people especially I saw it in the art fair when we had DVK, there was a lot of interest. But if you don't have a MetaMask or you don't have a wallet, you kind of lose people, because they don't want to spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes to download.
The friction's too high.
So this is a learning lesson. So we got a lot of intel in 2023, and now 2024 is the year, hopefully, where we can execute a lot of projects. So this is the pipeline for Space7. But again, I'm very including. I'm open for all options. Like I said, this is one big happy family at this point. There's 134 online NFT marketplaces, and very few is in the niche business.
That's it.
So let's collaborate and learn.
Yeah.
And
the great wave, a rising ocean floats all boats, right? I think we've got a couple questions, actually, Emil. We put out to the communities for some questions. So, Dee, did you have some lined up?
Yeah, I've got some. First to say thanks for all the lovely info you shared there, Emil. It's really interesting learning more about what you guys are doing. And I guess for Splash aside, and I guess the greater community that we're representing at this point, hopefully Cardano can be within your sights in the coming months. And yeah, I had one question for you before we jump into the audience questions. Do you own any NFTs yourself, having come like 9 months from knowing absolutely nothing and nightclubs and private jets and what have you to, okay, I'm in a digital art gallery now running all of the show there. And like, have you invested in any NFTs at all yourself?
I did, actually. I did. And most of them was fear of missing out. But I actually, I invested in some music NFTs. I actually purchased some of the, I don't know if you know the project with Snoop Dogg, and he like launched some music NFTs where you purchase some copyrights of his songs. I think he created like 20,000 NFTs, and sold fractions of his music. Some of those NFTs I went into. Cool. I think that was Gala, and I also have some Cardano NFTs actually. I have a couple, and and then I have some main NFTs I purchased, which is what we're doing with Space7 right now is we're doing some documentaries, and the way you fund or you raise your money to do documentaries is by selling some main NFTs and you co-owners. It's like crowdsourcing funding, right? So you have a share of that project, and every time that documentary is going to be streamed online, you get a reward. So I digged in very different ways, and then obviously also some art NFTs. Just of the curiosity, and because I fell in love with digital art, and at this moment I don't really see it as an investment. So it's more like a personal journey for me to onboard this. So for sure, I have a lot of NFTs, and also a lot of NFTs I don't know where it is because some of the projects kind of went in the dark.
You got right.
I purchased some houses where I was doing some passive income from, I don't know. When it's too good to be true, it usually is. So in this project it was. So
yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that is the old adage. What you did mention there before I jump into this, I'm really so interested in the applications of music NFTs, and thinking specifically at spaces like Tech Contemporary, how you can sort of create that audio-visual atmosphere and experience for attendees and patrons coming in there. Really looking forward into what that future holds. But I'm going to jump into some quick questions here. We have the first question from London, England, from a gentleman called Adam Saville Brown, who goes by the artist name Rasbo. And he's asked, I'm an artist, a painter who also explores digital art. I visited Tech Contemporary Gallery back in September, and I loved the space. What is your process for selecting artists for exhibitions?
Well, thank you for the question, Adam, first of all. So we are a gallery. Tech Contemporary is we want to put out the same category as a gallery. So we're gonna to be displayed and have an exhibition on Tech Contemporary. We need to do a curation, and this is the process we're still working on, having the best curators out in the world. Because we have Hans Elf as a traditional gallerist and respected, but he's also pretty new in the space. So we are surrounding ourselves with curators now. So what we do is we built this synergy, which is Space7 is the platform where you can upload your NFTs, you can create your community, you can work on your creative journey, and then slowly what we do is we curate art from Space7 to Tech Contemporary. That's kind of the flow we want to go with. And what we do is we want to help these artists, because what I see is maybe it's a little bit against the native of decentralization, but what I see with these artists, they thought they're going to be their own businessmen, they're going to do their own marketing, they're going to be the creative persons behind the projects, but it comes down to everything. They actually just want to be creative. They just want to work on their art. So this is why we want to help them as a marketplace at Space7, which is a public one. Everybody can upload their art there, and then we can start branding these artists, and then help them, advise them to come. And hopefully the Champions League is going to be having an exhibition on Tech Contemporary. So that's what we see it. We see Tech Contemporary as like the final destination. When that's said, we are still going to do some, happenings where it's not like a traditional exhibition, where we're going to do like educational happenings where we're going to showcase all these artists. So upcoming artists. So maybe it's not like a traditional exhibition, but we're still going to showcase. I want to really show the world what digital art can do. We can do 3D space. You have AI art. You have photo art. You have animation. There's so much in this world that people don't really understand or know about. So I would love to look into Adam's work and see what we can do together, because what I see is like we are partners in these projects together. We help each other and we build each other's journeys and do their roadmap together. So
the short answer there, though, is, Emil, get on to the Space7 platform, and then you got
you got to look at you. And hopefully we're going to bring it to a digital art fair as well, which is the Inter Digital. Well,
cool.
So yeah, there is really no other way around it. So if you want to end up in Tech Contemporary, let's communicate.
Yeah, no, for sure. That sounds great. I think, it really sounds like you guys are fostering quite an open relationship with inviting everybody in. You say, like, well, if everybody's coming in, we're all part of the space. We want to collaborate and thrive and learn together. If you build that space, people are going to come to that space, and that's where the innovation and the drive is going to happen. The second question, the last question we got here, is from Trent in Brisbane. Trent says he has a gallery space and is looking to convert a portion to showcase digital art. Any advice on the best ways to display the art? Any particular styles of art that lend themselves best to a gallery showing experience?
Yeah, well, we just did that exercise. So yeah, very very short. Find a good space where you can showcase your art. There's beauty about having a digital art space that you don't need like this big warehouse or a cellar where you have to have a storage of all the art.
Yeah.
So what we did is we have a small square, like 30 square meter space in Copenhagen where we have 7 screens, and it's very flexible to showcase art, right? So I will highly recommend that you look into any wall screens. Hardware is amazing. The technology is amazing. We are getting very good feedback from both collectors and artists. With very few tools, you can actually start your own gallery. And I would love to help you, because kind of the ambition with Tech Contemporary is also that we want to kind of build this franchise model where we can plug and play and bring all the tools to you. So we have the hardware, we have the software, we have the NFT marketplace, we have the concept, we have the curators, and this is the collaboration me and David has been talking for like 9 months, but since August at least, where we want to build this strong value chain. And it's very important to say this value chain just gets stronger and stronger. But what we need is exactly people have interest in this space and want to move on, because there's a lot of traditional art galleries now looking into this direction. Recently, I had a talk with a very interesting female from Hong Kong, Macau. She's very, very established and very respected in the traditional art world, but now she's looking into opening a digital art gallery. And I understand if you have galleries and you don't want to devaluate your project right now. You can just open a secondary entity and you have this gallery that's focused on digital art. So one doesn't exclude the other. You can build and you can. And would I say, coming from a world where I have a lot of startups, I understand it's much easier to open a digital art gallery than opening a traditional gallery. Right now, if I needed an art piece, David can send it within seconds to me, and I can upload it in my screens in Copenhagen and showcase it. Right. Yeah. So the flexibility is very important to underline here, and that's the trend I see. Imagine what you can do worldwide exhibitions at many galleries at the same time as well. So the option and opportunities are very, very unlimited here. I hope it came and gave Trent kind of a good advice, but find a good space. You don't need that big because you are very flexible as a gallery to change art, and you can. With very few costs, you can be up and running.
Awesome.
Well, look, thanks very much. And I think that idea of a global network of galleries that we've been talking about, it's starting to form, isn't it? We're starting to see a lot of interest from different groups in Europe and in Latin America, and obviously down here in Australia and in Asia. So that global network where we can both source beautiful and incredible artists from all over the world, but then also get them shown all over the world is a pretty exciting prospect. So, look, Emil, thanks very much. We're going to just close off the episode here, and we'll put the contacts for both Space7 and Tech Contemporary into the show notes, so that anybody who watches the episode can contact you and get in touch, artists or other galleries or otherwise.
Please feel free to reach out. That's why we're here for. So thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot, Emil.
Excellent. Thanks, Emil. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Pleasure. Bye.
There you go. That was Emil Dogan from Copenhagen. And what'd you think, D?
Yeah, super interesting. I got to say, for 9 months, it seems like he's ridden the baptism of fire quite well. And he's got gumption for it, I could say. And I think
he's passionate. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's what's necessary. And this vision of sort of, just everybody holding hands, rolling out that franchise model, the white label marketplace solution is just the right way to be thinking. I mean, that's how Shopify basically took control of all of the guys that went into e-commerce. This is just e-commerce for artists to be their own entrepreneurs and have their own businesses, without necessarily having to have all of that experience or that knowledge. It's just like a turnkey solution for them to focus on creating and having the storefront do what it needs to do online.
Yeah. No, it's a cool idea. And Tech Contemporary is a beautiful space. And so we really hope we can set up some more gallery networks, and we're getting lots of interest. But I'm really looking forward to getting back to Copenhagen to the Enter Art Fair, which is again in August of this year. And it looks like they're going to have quite a big digital component to that. So last year, I know that the guys from Anywall, that was the only, I think that was the only dedicated digital space with Tech Contemporary. They partnered with them, and this year I think there's more interest coming from galleries in other cities around the world. Nice. So the diversity and the interest certainly is developing there.
All coming together. It's good to hear and see.
All right. Well, that is an episode there. Who do we have up next, Steve? We've got another interviewee that we're going to line up for an upcoming episode.
Yes, we will be. And sort of keeping in the same vein of this episode, we're actually going to be talking to the artist that is going to be exhibiting with Tech Contemporary at their grand opening, and that's DVK, the artist. So if you're an artist and what we've spoken about today excites you, and the opportunity of exhibiting in digital art galleries that have physical venues excites you, then be sure to tune in for that one next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can check out his artwork. Really beautiful stuff. And I know his process, like some of the stuff he's doing, he's got a proprietary bunch of AI algorithms that he's driving and layering. And it takes it's pretty incredible stuff that he's doing. So please join us for that one. So, all right. Well, that is us for The Great Wave and this episode. I'm Dave.
I'm Dee.
And we'll see you next time.
Cheers, guys.